there's this idea of cool that we're all after. Especially nowadays, if you go on social media, you'll hear this term even being high value, that everyone's chasing and chasing and chasing. And the way that we chase it is we look externally at different frames that are imposed. So there's societal frames, cultural frames, frames within your environment, where you live, your friend group, so on and so forth. There's always frames and realities that are imposed. If you buy into certain frames, people are like, well, they're always looking externally. Tell me what's cool. Tell me what's the right thing. Tell me what's high value. So you're looking externally at these different frames and you're trying to adapt, in which case you're always reactive and you're always getting sucked into, am I good enough, am I not? The key to confidence isn't to get sucked in and to optimize. It's to withdraw from getting sucked into those frames. There's a great book I suggest you all read called Immunity to Change. Immunity to Change. And in that book, the writers break down what they call the 5 stages of cognitive development, from when you're a kid, so on and so forth, to your teenage years, and later on. Now, some of the key stages that stand out is you enter at some point what they call the socialized mind. The socialized mind is where most people reside. And this is someone who's always looking socially in terms of what are the definitions of cool, what's being good enough, et cetera, et cetera. What do they think? How do I fit in? So on and so forth. Which is why I also talk about how a lot of adults are still high schoolers within. You graduated high school, I hope. Someone's like, I'm 12. No, you're all high school. But you'll see people even in their 40s, 50s still act that way. We're like, who are the popular kids? You're at your job, you're like, where do I stand? The boss is the teacher. What's cool? What will my friends like? And they live their lives for others. If they think of a partner, like what partner would impress my friends versus what partner do I like? What lifestyle would impress my friends? What lifestyle looks good on social media? Versus, well, what do I actually want? And people will sacrifice their own preferences to adapt and please others. That's the socialized mind. That person, TikTok, Instagram, is like crack cocaine. They love it. They can't get enough of it. Why? Because there's so much input from the outside. Look at society. Tell me how to think, so on and so forth. How do I fit in? Social proof also has a big impact on them. If everyone else is doing, they're like a sheep. I'll follow the herd. That's the socialized mind. As you move up, they then describe the self-authoring mind. So socialized mind, self-authoring. Self-authoring is the opposite. Instead of looking out there, tell me what to think, tell me what to feel, it's I'm going to look in here and ignore out there. Instead of looking for the cues, the definitions of success, I'm going to set my own. Instead of getting sucked into these frames, I'm going to buy into me and set my own frame. And then you flip the script. You'll see, if I go up, I'm like, what do you think is cool? And then I try to be that, I'm screwed regardless because I'm always in reaction to you. So same as you, it's like, my friends, I don't want to be like an idiot. How do I fit in? You're screwed because even if you portray yourself as not being an idiot, you're still in reaction to them and they're still pimping you out. Whoever you're trying to impress is pimping you out. Versus, well, what's my definition of cool? What if I were to just own everything that is me? And if it's authentic and there's a strong frame, they're going to adapt onto you. And that's the thing, is there's always a frame in many ways of viewing one thing, right? Like say you're at a job interview. I remember this from back in the day. I was at a job interview when I first moved to LA. It was at selling cars, which I did for like 3 months. And I had no experience selling cars. I was broke, actually homeless at the time. And I was like, I just need a job. And there were 2 things that I did. One, which I read online, which is if you're going to get a job selling cars, just make sure you tell them the only reason you want to do it is because you want to make money. Just keep saying money. I was like, okay. And I remember he was saying this, so why do you want to do this? I was like, money. He's like, well, what are some of your goals later on? Money. And that's all I would say. And I got the job. But the final thing he said was, so look, I feel like you'd be a great fit. Money. The one downside is this, you have no experience. Now here's the situation. Me with no experience, right? Versus why would we hire someone with more experience? One frame is that's bad. Look, he has no experience. Why should we hire him? That's a frame. The other frame is, well, and this is what I told him, that's true. I have no experience, but that's actually good.
Motivating. Clean slate.
Clean slate.
Coachable.
You don't have to deprogram bad habits I may have developed. I'm motivated. I'm young. I'm hungry. Money. Right? And I'm just ready to learn from scratch. You can just mold me in whatever you want. Done. Now, it's the same situation. No experience, looking for a job. One way of viewing it, that's bad. The other way, that's good. Right? Take even this event here, me and myself, and this is a decision all of you should reach, and the strongest frame is always authenticity, is who are you, what are you into, and just own it. And the more you own it, and the more certain you are in yourself and what is true to you, people will adapt. If you think of this seminar here, how ridiculous is this?
If you're not vegan, you are very
Objectively,
ridiculous. Be vegan,
how
not an animal
ridiculous
user.
is
Classification,
this?
consume animal products, Julien. Be a good father, be vegan, be vegan.
Thank you. Whereas, as long as there's no paint or hand gluing going on, I'm happy. Now, well, actually, here's another example. From their reality, their frame, they're viewing this, and me is like, screw that person. Through another frame, it's, that's a little odd, or a little weird. Different frames, right? Now, what you'll notice, though, is that a strong frame, unlike them, is not self-imposing. A strong frame is, hey, this is me, take it or leave it, versus this is me, submit. A weak frame is submit. So a stronger frame is own what you believe in. Like the actual good way to go about it is, say you're like that and you're like, oh, vegan, vegan. It's like, yeah, wear your shirt, come and enjoy the event and own it and say, hey, I'm vegan. Versus, I'm vegan. Are you vegan too? You're like, that's very different, you know? So, and funny enough, what you'll also notice is with that dynamic, and it links to neediness, the less you're attached or the less you're trying to impose or the less you need a validation or confirmation, the more people actually get sucked in. Like you'll notice, the more it was like, but the vegan, the more everyone was turned off. So even though it's actually, from one perspective, a great message, because it's packaged in that needy way, the label's like freak. And that's the mainstream label, freak. Versus, hey, here's what's up. Yeah, we're good. Hey, this is what we're doing. We're owning it and we're making it cool. Being needy is not how you make it cool. Get it? Like, even me here, back to this, the frame, one is, you could view it like, say someone, which even backstage here, like there's the hotel staff walking, they don't know me. Do you think they're looking at me like, oh, look at this badass? No. They're looking at me and just like, in their frame, it's like, this is weird. Now, in my frame, I love this. This is authentic. It's unique to me. It's my humor. It's the freedom of expression. I'm like, this is me. It's great. If for you, you know me and stuff, you're like, well, hey, that's him. We resonate. Let's go. So what I would link it back to you is if, hey, I feel like I'm a loser, it's just like, just own it. Say, you know what? I'm not a loser. This is just me, and I'm just going to own me to such an extent that people can take it or leave it. And more often than not, if you just truly own it, and it's authentic, that strong reality, that strong frame will win. But then don't impose it. So don't be like with your friends, like, I'm not a loser, right? I'm not a loser, right? No, it's just like, hey, this is me. And in the end, who decides? Everything's subjective. And that's the whole thing with frames within frames. What's cool to one person isn't cool to another, and vice versa. So in the end, all you're left with is you. Stop trying to please others. Adapt to different frames. See what is authentic to me. Own it, and then you're cool. And then people react. And they love it. And the people will resonate with it. I've seen this a lot too with drinking. People are like, if I go out and I want to, hang out with my friends. A lot of them drink. What if I don't drink? Well, own it. What's one perspective? One is, why aren't you drinking with us, loser? Drink. That's one. Or you meet someone new. Why aren't you drinking? That's weird. There's one frame. But is it? Here's the other frame. Why aren't you drinking? Don't want to. Why are you drinking? You can flip the script on anything. Literally on anything. And those are called, by the way, in just social dynamic terms, frame battles. And the frame that is the strongest always wins. And the frame that is the strongest is always rooted in authenticity. So for you, screw trying to fit in, screw the friend hierarchy, focus on you, be you, and if your friends aren't cool with that, then they're not your friends. And that's the cliche saying, which is very true. Authenticity is like taking a spotlight and shining away people that don't resonate with you. Be you, and people who are not about it will run out the door. Literally.
Can you show us the scream loud as you can?
Ah! Yeah, easy. Thanks. Yeah. Funny, right? Here's the other thing. I don't have to build momentum for that. Right? Notice someone say, hey, any questions? That is what we talked about before. There's choice or obligation. In your range of expressiveness, you can be quiet if you want, you can be loud if you want. There's a preference. It's the same as, say, if someone knows how, this is more, let's just say, if someone knows how to fight, right? Like say if they were put on the spot, they've done martial arts, they know how to fight. They don't have to fight to just show that there's a certain vibe. They know that if they were faced in a situation, they could handle it. And people can sense. If someone who, if they wanted to be really loud, easily could, even if they're very quiet, there's just something about it. It's very different than someone who's quiet because they don't know how to be loud. Versus I'm quiet, but if I want to be loud, I can! Different.
How do you demolish subconscious blockades that prevent you from doing things that you want to do?
Love the question. You don't demolish them. You let go of the resistance. So, love that you asked this. So for everyone here, I've drawn this graph before, but this is really, you could say, an understanding of self-sabotage and letting go. So if here is you, okay? You want to go towards success, right? You're here, you're trying, but you just have trouble. The way most people are, and this is how we're conditioned, is that we consciously, so mentally we want to go towards success, but unconsciously there's this force that pulls us towards failure. And you could think of it as if there's this little demon inside, and forgive my drawing, and this little demon wants to just pull you straight towards failure. So for all of you, I want to be loud and charismatic, consciously, but unconsciously, no, stifle. I want to be loud. I want to be successful, self-sabotage. I want to be in shape, self-sabotage. So we all have this, you could say, this rift that happens in us. I want to go there, but I mean pulled here. Now, what's the mainstream way of dealing with this? Discipline and hustle and work ethic. Right? I want to be successful. I keep slacking off. But maybe if I discipline myself, which is taking a whip, taking that demon and we're going that way, going that way. That's most people. You're just whipping yourself within. It's a relationship of self-hate, self-attack to get yourself to take action in this direction. And it's crazy. For all of you hustlers out there, it's better to be clear than doing nothing. So you have the demon and you're like, then the demon's going to pull you down. So it's much better to whip yourself into shape. But the question is, well, why do I have to whip myself into shape? Why is it that by default, if I don't discipline myself, I'm moving towards failure. That's interesting, right? You can audit a lot of your actions. If I don't do my morning routine, if I don't focus, if I don't meditate, if I don't do this, then, well, why is my default falling down? That's self-sabotage. You're fighting this thing that's pulling you down. And then what you realize is that when you let go of this, then there's no longer this force pulling you down, and you don't need work ethic. You don't need discipline. And it's what I say, instead of work ethic, you develop a work magnet. You're pulled towards success. Everything's aligned. So a lot of this inner work in terms of the blockage is identifying the parts of you that are not aligned. And what you'll also realize is that the parts of you that are not aligned, there's still some kind of subconscious payoff. Meaning, say you do believe growing up, maybe you made a mistake and you consider yourself a bad person. Say that happens. Then you stuff it down, you forget about it. But unconsciously, it's still active, it's there. Now you want to succeed. Well, hey, if you succeed, you won't feel very at ease because you're getting away with what you did. And to feel like a good person, you better be getting the punishment you deserve. So you're going to self-sabotage to get the punishment. Consciously, you have no idea. You're like, why? Well, because of that.